This is question 1 from 2013 about Jim's taxis charges. Part 1, what is the amount of the flag for, the fixed amount that Jim charges people when they use his taxi? The fixed amount will be this initial amount here, flag fall they call it in taxi world, so that would be $2.50. Now part 2 says to find the equation of this line that Jim uses to find a charge for his taxi. So we'll start with what we know about straight lines, y equals mx plus c. So this is what you should be answering for part 2. Now having a look up here, the plus c is always the y-intercept, and in this case it's the $2.50. So y equals mx plus $2.50. Now we're going to need to know the gradient. That's what m stands for. M stands for the gradient of the line. There's a couple of ways we can do that. One of the ways would be to use the graph itself, and we know that gradient equals rise over run. So to help yourself, you should have written somewhere gradient equals rise over run. And for this example, working out the rise, we've gone from 10, that's a value of 10, down to a value of 2.5 or $2.50, so that gives me a rise of $7.50, 7.5. In the run I can see it goes from 0 up to 10 here, so that would be a run of 10. And using the calculator, or you might know, dividing by 10, move the decimal point one place, 0.75 for the gradient. And the other thing we should practice doing is using the proper variables. So if we look back at our graph, I can see on the y-axis we have c for cost, and they're suggesting down here on the x-axis d for kilometres travelled. So back to our equation, instead of y we'll write c equals, the gradient is 0.75 times d, where d stands for how many kilometres you travel, plus the standard $2.50. That would be the equation for that. So just making sure we understand, each kilometre we're charging an extra 75 cents or 0.75 of a dollar per kilometre travelled, plus the standard fixed $2.50. Of course there is a way to check that equation on the calculator. It's a straight line, so 2 points would be enough. We've got that point there, which is 0 and 2.5. And we could use this point. These are the x and y coordinates. So the x and y coordinates of that are 10 and 10. I'm going over to the calculator, choosing the new stat. We'll put the points in, 0 enter, 10 enter, and up to the other side, 0.5 enter, 10 enter, and we didn't quite get that one is 10. Right, hover over the F1 button, graph 1, calc, choosing along here. Now x for a straight line we'll choose just x, and there I can see the general form of it, y equals mx plus c. The gradient on the calculator is given the letter A, 0.75, B is the y-intercept of 2.5. Right, moving down to the next part of the question, we may still need that graph. Pam's loyalty card system. Obtain points. First complete $20, you get 2 points for the first complete 20, and then you get 2 extra points for every complete 15 spent. Stacey spent $75, so let's break it up. The first $20 she spent, she'll get 2 points, plus 15 would be 35, plus another 15, plus another 15, let's think about that, 3 15s are 45, 65, so that's 65 so far. She spent 75, so she spent another 10. So obviously she gets 8 complete points. Not enough for the next one. Right, on the grid below we're going to sketch the graph. Now, she gets her first 2 complete points when she spends $20, so if she spends $20 she gets 2 points. If she spends another 15, which would be in here, 35, there's 30, another 15, she'll get 2 more points, taking her up to 4. Another 15 will take her up to 6, and another 15 on top of that will take her up to 8. But let's think about before that. So leading up to 20 she hasn't collected any. Right on 20 she gets 2, so we need to use an open dot here to show that for any values right up to $19.99 she wouldn't get anything until she hits the $20. And similarly with this, she'll have 2 points, oops, a little bit far there, until she gets that far, and that one, and that one. Let's check I've got those in the right places. Back to the beginning here, I think it's safe to have an open dot here, because if she spent nothing, of course she's got nothing. So actually that could be a closed dot. Right, next question. Here's a different loyalty scheme. This time Jeanette gets 1 point for every complete $10. So if somebody spent $75, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 75. So 1 point for every complete $10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points under that scheme. Now if a graph were drawn for this one, perhaps back on Pam's one, describe any similarities and differences between the two graphs. Usually when they say if, they're encouraging you to go back and actually draw on top of it. So you might need to go back and have a look at the other graph and think about how you'd draw. This is Jeanette's system on Pam's one. So back over here, the red is Pam's, and then we want to try a different colour, perhaps blue for Jeanette's scheme. So Jeanette's one would have a line up to 10, and then they'd get 1 point. Another 10 up to here, another 10 up to here, and so on. So looking for similarities and differences. The similarities are that they're both step functions, both step graphs. There are some times when it's similar, between 0 up to $9.99. They both have the same amount of points there. There are other places where it's similar. They both have an open dot on the right hand side of the step. Some differences. While Jeanette's goes up by the same amount every time, Pam's has a bigger jump at the beginning. Oh no, Pam's goes up by the same amount as well, only hers is going up by 2 points each time. So we need to write something about that. Usually when they're asking this question, for achieved you need 1 valid comment comparison. Here it would be 2 valid comparisons, and excellence would be 3 valid comparisons. So I'll just use some quick notation here. Both graphs are step functions. Would be 1 valid comment comparing them. The second one, Pam's steps go up by 2 points each time. Even if you feel like what you're stating is obvious, it's still good to write it down. But Jeanette's steps go up by 1. Both step graphs have open end at the right hand end, closed at the left hand end. We might try and just write as many as we can, and then hopefully some of them will be what the markers are looking for. We need to say that under Jeanette's scheme, no, under Pam's scheme, you need $20 to collect your first points, but Jeanette's only needs $10. Right, and if you can think of any more, then that's great.